Hey guys, and just wanted to hop on here and talk about emotion, energy and motion. And so, a couple things to think about when we think about emotions. They are in our body and they don't just show up, right? They usually start with a thought, an image, a scenario that's playing in our head. And a lot of the times people talk about thoughts. And so I think if we talk more about how scenarios and we end up actually playing movies in our head about situations, whether they're from the past or we're anticipating the future, and then this creates an emotional reaction inside of our body. And it's all about in terms of being able to take our power back in these situations and not feel so powerless and helpless when these emotional scenarios come up, because it can feel really draining at times, and we can feel like our minds are running us versus us running our mind. So I like to kind of separate these two concepts, minute-to-minute psychology or mindset versus actually healing and reprocessing some of the traumas that have actually occurred in our lives, and keeping these two worlds separate. Because I think if we spend too much time emphasizing mindset and forgetting about the underlining healing and reprocessing that needs to occur, we can end up ignoring the shadow part of ourselves or the darker parts of ourselves, and then just running off of this positive thinking. But this somehow always creeps back in, and we're not really resolving the root cause. So the thing to kind of keep in mind is that you can do both at the same time. You can work on minute-to-minute psychology, you can work on improving your present moment, while at the same time knowing that you have these maybe these unpacked boxes inside of you that are still waiting for you to look at. So, why is this even important to talk about? So let's just take a scenario that most of us go through. We're just waking up and we're walking through life, and most of us, even though we're brushing our teeth or doing our routine, there's something going on in between our two ears always, whether we're anticipating, we got a thing coming up with our child, like an appointment or a goal we're working on, or this conversation that I'm gonna have with this person. And it just, whatever's coming to mind automatically, it's not always the best thing that's serving us. It could be actually draining our energy and our emotion, or it could be elevating us, or as they say, helping us vibrate on a higher level. So it's important to kind of keep this in mind, because you can shift that moment. You can have a scenario that you're playing in your head, and all of a sudden you begin to feel negative, sad, frustrated, angry. And remember, we don't know what the difference between reality is, if it's happening in here or outside of here, right? If a scenario that hasn't even happened is playing in your head, it will evoke or invoke the same emotional response as if it actually was happening. For example, if you anticipate someone's going to yell at you and you're going to get in trouble, you'll have the adrenaline, the cortisol, you'll be in fear. So that's when you have to make that conscious minute-to-minute psychology situation, that conscious decision to shift, to let it go, understand that you have control over the situation and you have control over how you're going to respond. However, at the same time, obviously that thought process is coming from a place that needs to be healed and to be reprocessed. So, however, that does not mean that you can't change your present moment until I heal this. I think there's a misconception that in order to have a present moment a present moment, more pleasant experience, I have to do this. And that's just not true. We can have healthier minute-to-minute psychology now with knowing that, yes, I still have some other things to address in my life. So, and I think, just as I'm talking about this, I think one of the main blocks with that is normalizing the situation and taking the shame out of it, So allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to understand that maybe you're not exactly where you want to be, but you're sure as hell going to do everything you can to, do what you can do today. So that means having a more positive internal dialogue, choosing to shift your perception in that moment. Not always easy, I totally understand that, but for the most part, if we can practice this on a daily basis, and understanding how much control we actually do have over our thoughts and the images that, and I like to emphasize more of like the movies that we run through our head, because we just don't have one image, we just don't have one solid thought, we have like entire scenarios, right? And then this internal perception, our internal world, begins to dance, so to speak, with our external world. And if it's not, if we're not being conscious in here, we're certainly not being conscious outside of ourselves either. So those were just some quick tips and emotion, energy and motion, and what you can do right now to shift your perspective. And that's 1, let it go. 2, knowing that you have the choice to change your thought process or the movie you're running in that moment internally. And 3, validating yourself, validating that you have all the skills and permission to shift in that moment, and at the same time knowing if there's a deeper issue that you have the ability and the permission to also work on that as well. So I hope this video helped you guys, and I hope you have a good day.